Welcome, friends. The snowstorm had just begun to quiet, leaving the ranch wrapped in a blanket of white. The young bride, her dress dusted with flakes, stood at the gate with confusion written on her face. She had come all this way, only to discover she was sent to the wrong ranch. Her heart ached, wondering where she truly belonged. Just then, the cabin door opened, and a small pair of footsteps echoed in the snow. A little girl with shining eyes ran toward her, her cheeks flushed pink from the cold. She stopped in front of the stranger in a veil, staring at her as if she were a dream come true. The bride knelt slowly, her hands trembling as she brushed the snow from the child's hair. The little one pressed a tiny flower into her hand and whispered with a smile that carried more faith than years of prayer, "God finally sent you to us." Tears streamed down the bride's cheeks. In that fragile whisper, she felt her entire destiny change. She wasn't lost, she had been found. From a distance, the cowboy father watched silently. His eyes, once guarded, softened as he saw his daughter's joy. The ranch, which had long been filled with silence and sorrow, suddenly felt alive again. The snowflakes fell heavier, but the warmth between them could not be hidden. It was no accident. It was heaven's plan. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Channel name, Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The night sky glowed softly above the snowy ranch, stars twinkling like tiny lanterns, guiding lost souls home. The young bride stood at the wooden gate, clutching her suitcase tightly, her heart pounding with fear and confusion. She had been told this was the wrong ranch, but something in the air felt strangely right, like destiny waiting at the doorstep. Suddenly the door of the cabin creaked open. A little girl, wrapped in a tiny wool shawl, rushed out with a smile so pure it could melt the coldest night. She ran straight to the stranger in white, her boots leaving tiny marks in the snow. The bride dropped to her knees, her veil brushing the ground as she looked into the child's innocent eyes. The girl gently placed a small flower, saved, carefully in her pocket, into the bride's hand. With a trembling whisper, she said, "God finally sent you to us." The words struck deep into the bride's soul. She felt tears slip down her cheeks, not from the cold, but from a warmth she had never known. In that instant, she understood this was no mistake. This was a calling. The cowboy father stood on the porch, his hat low, his eyes fixed on the scene before him. His heart, scarred by years of loneliness, softened as he watched the woman embrace his daughter. For the first time in so long, he saw hope flicker inside his home. Snowflakes swirled gently around them, as if the heavens themselves were blessing this meeting. What seemed like an accident was, in truth, the miracle they had all been waiting for. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Channel name, Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The ranch lay silent under the silver glow of the moon, the snow glistening like scattered diamonds. A cold wind whistled through the wooden fences, carrying with it the weight of loneliness that had long haunted this place. The young bride stepped off the wagon, her heart heavy, her suitcase dragging through the snow. She had been told she was at the wrong ranch, but why then did her heart whisper otherwise? From the porch, a little girl peeked out, her curious eyes shining with innocence and longing. The moment she saw the stranger in white, her tiny feet carried her quickly across the frozen ground. She stopped in front of the bride, out of breath, but smiling as though she had been waiting for this very moment all her life. The bride knelt, brushing snow from the girl's shoulders. Before she could speak, the child reached into her pocket, pulled out a small flower, fragile yet alive, and placed it in the bride's hand. Her voice was soft, almost breaking, but filled with certainty as she whispered, "God finally sent you to us." The words pierced through the silence, echoing like a prayer answered. The bride's eyes filled with tears. In that moment, she felt more seen, more chosen than ever before. The cowboy, standing in the doorway, froze. His rugged face softened, and his hand gripped the wooden post for balance. It had been years since he believed in miracles, but watching his daughter cling to the bride as though she had finally found her mother, he felt something sacred stir in his chest. The snow kept falling, the night kept still, but inside their hearts, A fire had been lit. This was not the wrong ranch. This was the only place she was ever meant to be. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Channel name, Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. The night was quiet, the ranch wrapped in a deep hush, broken only by the crunch of snow beneath weary boots. The young bride dragged her suitcase across the frozen ground, her heart aching with confusion. She had been told this was the wrong ranch. But as she looked around, she felt a strange warmth in the cold air, as if her destiny had been waiting here all along. From the wooden cabin, a small flicker of light glowed through the window. Then the door opened slowly. A little girl stepped out, her shawl too big for her tiny frame, her breath visible in the icy air. Her eyes widened when she saw the bride standing there, tired, lost, and alone. Without a second thought, the child ran toward her, her laughter echoing against the silence of the snowy fields. The bride dropped to her knees, her veil touching the snow as tears welled in her eyes. The little girl reached into her pocket, pulling out a delicate flower she had kept safe all winter. She pressed it into the bride's hand, her voice trembling with faith and innocence as she whispered, "God finally sent you to us." The bride's chest tightened, her tears fell freely, and she embraced the child as though she had known her forever. Her heart screamed. It was no mistake, no accident. This was where she belonged. On the porch, the cowboy father stood frozen, his breath caught in his throat. His rugged hands trembled as he gripped the railing. For years, he had prayed silently for someone to bring light back into their home. And now, watching his daughter wrapped in the arms of this stranger-turned-savior, he felt his heart break open with hope. The snow swirled around them like heaven's own blessing. The ranch that once stood empty now felt alive. It was not the wrong place. It was fate's perfect plan. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Channel name, Soul of Kindness.